All right, ladies and gentlemen, Andy McCarthy joins us in a moment, but you heard the Columbia School of Journalism did this review of the rape allegations, University of Virginia. Hey, shouldn't someone at Rolling Stone be fired? Like, shouldn't a lot of people affiliated with writing that story be fired instead of just apologizing? Let's watch Senator Menendez.
I'm outraged that prosecutors at the Justice Department were tricked into starting this investigation 3 years ago with false allegations by those who have a political motive to silence me. But I will not be silenced.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, kicking off hour number 2, Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor, National Review columnist, author of Faithless Execution, Building the Political Case for Obama's Impeachment, of course, New York Times best-selling author. Andy, you wrote a great piece at PJ Media, and it talked about the fact that, or maybe it was National Review, it probably was. Why is Obama's Justice Department going after him and not Harry Reid, for instance?
Boy, that's a question they should be made to answer, Steve. It looks to me, I guess a couple of things come to mind. If you just look at Menendez, as I argue in the PJ Media piece that you mentioned.
Okay, it is PJ Media. Okay.
Yeah, it's PJ. The fact that he may very well be guilty of at least some of the things that they've charged him with, that doesn't necessarily mean that this isn't a politicized prosecution, because there's a good argument that some of his behavior, at least, is in that gray area of quote-unquote politics as usual, where a prosecutor might exercise his discretion to charge or might exercise his discretion not to charge.
Right.
So you always have to wonder with the Obama administration whether the exercise of prosecutorial discretion is being geared by politics. And then the second thing that you refer to is this whole overlay about Reid. And the interesting thing there is, if you look at what the Justice Department's theory is for prosecuting Menendez, which is basically being bought and sold by this Dr. Melgen character to use his office and his political muscle in a way that was beneficial to Melgen, it looks, as you look at it, that's exactly what Harry Reid did as well. So that begs the question, why indict Menendez and not Reid? And of course gets right back into the point that Reid is an Obama ally and Menendez has made himself a nuisance.
Absolutely. All right. Next piece at nationalreview.com. Is the Benghazi committee going about this in the right way? I mean, I'm confused. I read that the chairman, Trey Gowdy, requested that Hillary testify before May 1st. Is that different than, as you were saying in your piece, compelling her?
Well, what he's done, as I understand it, unless there's been a more recent change that hasn't hit the airwaves yet, is that he's invited her to come in for a private interview, which he has to say he's inviting her to do that because you can't order somebody to come in for a private interview. When I was a prosecutor, I like to bring people in for a private interview. It usually makes your testimony on the stand go smoother because you make sure that people don't blurt out things that are irrelevant and such. But you can't compel them to come in for an interview. You can only compel them for public testimony.
Is it under oath, by the way, the private interview?
Well, you know, that would have to be anything you don't have to do by law is subject to negotiation. Now, what Gowdy has said is he wants it to be a transcribed interview.
Why,
frankly,
Andy? Why? Why not just call her before the committee and make her testify?
Well, because his point, I agree with you, Steve. I think we should have had robust public hearings in this investigation already. I mean, it's been 10 months since they've had it. But you know, his approach has been to say, you know, I'm building this meticulous case, and I want to interview people like a prosecutor does in his office, and then at some point in time, who knows when, we're going to have the public hearings. And I think you don't go about something like this, which is a public accountability congressional investigation, as if it were a criminal investigation.
Right.
It's simply not the same it's not the same thing.
Right, the public has a right to know, and plus, if you time her testimony, you know, after talking to her once, she could claim later this is a political witch hunt because I'm running for president. I already spoke to the committee.
Right.
Blah blah blah. Yeah, I just think it's terrible judgment. All right, Andy, always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Good to be with you, Steve.
You
Thanks.
too. Andy McCarthy, ladies and gentlemen. All right, when we come back, and by the way, I like Trey Gowdy, and I'm sure Andy does too, but I just think Andy's 100% right here, and Trey Gowdy would do well to heed Andy's advice. Not my advice. It's not worth much in this matter. Anyway, Jennifer Rubin of the Washington Post is next. Don't go away.